Thank y'all for coming. Thank you guys. Like, it really means a lot to have you guys in this space, the first of many coming from DUPPY House, truly. So my name is Onyechi Ogumaka, but most people call me Onyi, and I will be your moderator for today.
My name is Moji. I'm a cinematographer born and raised in Florida, and my family's from Jamaica, and we're the first generation here in the United States.
How's it going, everyone? My name's Deontay, and I'm the owner of this space, along with Nick, Jay, and Corey. I work more on the lighting technician side, gaffing, lighting, designing. I initially got into film. I was always a kid riding around with a GoPro on my bike, going out doing adventures and whatnot. So when I got to college, it only made sense that, I applied myself to something a little bit more creative.
Moji, can you explain, what did we just witness downstairs? Like, what was that? No one was speaking, no one was doing nothing, but there was obviously something happening on the stage. So can you, walk us through what was going on down there?
Yeah, I would like to describe it as an exercise of what I do every day as a cinematographer. I thought having an audience today would be a bit strange or a little off-putting, but I realized this is what I do every day. Like, I have people watching me work and light things and make weird faces as I'm looking at the light, and today was just a visual exercise of us shooting a scene. Me doing my job as a cinematographer, handling the lighting, handling my team being one of the huge components in a cinematographer career, a director's career, a filmmaker's career. And I wanted all of you in different roles to be in this room to speak on your role. Yeah, today was just a visual exercise, and the GOAT right here, man, he, no, yeah. I met Elijah over social media, so I hit him up and I was like, man, I love your presence, and I love how articulate and expressive you are. And we shot one project and we hit it off, and we really had chemistry, and I think that's really important in filmmaking. I want you to talk on how important chemistry is in filmmaking.
I think chemistry is something that's required in all steps of life. And there's a balance in both creatives when creating something. And, I believe that when two people who are open to creativity, whether that energy is source or whatever you pull from within yourself or from outside, and you're just honest with the creativity with yourself and the other person, you're able to create something that is truly spectacular. And I think Moji is someone, and his whole team are people who are authentic, honest, and allow people like me to shine and feel safe enough to express ourselves authentically.
And from another actor's perspective, what was it like seeing that on the stage, coming from your own acting background? How did it feel to just see all that unfold?
As an actor, you're typically only focused on your role as the actor.
Hold on. Introduce yourself, brother. You have crazy work out there, and it's amazing. Crazy in a good way, and I really want you to talk about that, man.
Yeah, so I'm Smack Lewis. I'm an actor and voice actor. You guys will probably see me in commercials in Portland, but you'll hear me on commercials for Taco Bell, Red Lobster, the NFL, NHL, MLB, things like that.
Let's hear a Taco Bell commercial.
You gotta pay for that. No, from an actor's perspective, you're generally focused on your particular job. So for me, it was interesting to get an inside look into what everybody else does. So for example, one thing I was fascinated by was Jabari's ability to keep the mic out of frame as the camera's moving in and out, right? Or adjusting the lighting, you know what I'm saying? Like hearing Moji say, we're too hot on the rim light, which is, the light on the edge or the outside. So just those intricacies and recognizing how people are so particular about their jobs, it's just fascinating to see that from the perspective that we got to see it today.
Yeah, that's so good, Smack. That's so good. I think it's so valuable to also have your perspective on that, being able to not only be in the scene, but also be out of the scene and understand that there are so many different roles that are important for you to do your own role at the end of the day. So thank you for that input. I even want to hear from you, Deontay, too, because, you know, you were the chief lighting technician. You're the one that's changing and making all the different changes that Moji is asking for. So can you walk us through how it felt downstairs, just hearing Moji's comments and how you were able to also still add your own flair, because you are still a creative at the end of the day too. So
yeah, initially when they presented this project to me and they were like, yeah, like, do you want to be in it? And I was like, oh, you know, I'm not really on the front of the camera. I do more work behind. And when we were out there down below, it kind of felt like no one was there, right? Because like I work with these wonderful people quite frequently, and so when we're down there making adjustments, talking in our crazy lingo, it kind of just felt natural, right? We were at home. We were at the house, you know? And so there's something, just hearing your perspective as well from individuals that don't necessarily work on the lighting dynamic side, you know, seeing just the minute details, right? Like we'll sit there and that was kind of an expedited, you know, showcase of like how long we'll sit there and actually tweak things. And sometimes we're adjusting, you know, such minute details, 2 or 3%, couple degrees of Kelvin. Kelvin is a measurement of color temperature, right? So something warmer we refer to as a lower Kelvin. Something higher is a cooler Kelvin, so you'll hear like, take it to 56 or 32, and it's just minute adjustments on, you know, how warm or cool the light is. And yeah, so to go back to like the experiential side of it, it felt like this is what we do every day. So it was almost like, it didn't feel like a show, it just felt natural. A lot of times when we're working on these projects, we're trying to, you know, achieve a look, right? A motivation, a goal. And Moji's really good at having this ideal vision in mind, and my job is just to bring that into practicality, right? So that's 90% of my work is a lot of people come to me with like, we want to do this, we want it to feel like this, we want the vibe to, you know, emulate such, and my job is to kind of put together the puzzle pieces and bring the idea to life. So I'm grateful to have such awesome creatives to push these ideas, because like without creative direction, you're just there, just stagnant. So
I guess this question would probably be more for you, Moji, but I'm 18 and I'm kind of starting to move into video from photography. And as I kind of like try and, I guess, find a space like where I can really showcase like my creative expression, I feel like in part you also have to learn how to be a good businessman. So like, what do you think is like, I guess, how did you gauge like, as like you kind of progressed in your career, like a good balance between the two?
Yeah, great question. I think a lot of creatives instinctually are battling with that same question every day. You know, there's veterans that are 20 plus years. There's like 50-year-old cinematographers, and they're like really good. And they still fight with that. I think as a creative, I always struggle with the business side of things, and I try to find ways to level that out by having people around me that are much better at it than me. You have to have people around you that are better than you at certain things. Whatever you're natural at, you're better than them at that. They have probably a plethora of other things that they're better than you at. Use that. They're your friend. They're your partner. They're your teammate. And that's a very high level way to think about it. But I think as a more practical, tactical way, just be around them more. Like listen to how they speak and the things that they do. Like, you know, how they handle their taxes and their numbers and all those things. I think as a creative, numbers scare us, you know, and lean into that. I think there's creativity in numbers. Yeah.
How would you say that you get into those rooms with those people that are better than you? Because I know there's, I'd say in Portland, I've definitely experienced like this kind of like big fish, little pond syndrome, where it's not necessarily like hard to get the attention of those people, but it's like if you're not really offering anything, it's kind of hard to kind of come to a level where you can have like a civil conversation in a way.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Zach Doliak. I'm a photographer in town, a freelancer. And this is like such a good question, man, because it's like when it comes down to brass tacks, it's like, how the fuck do you make it as a creative? How do you get to take pictures for a living? Or how do you get to take moving pictures for a living, or light things for a living, or produce things for a living? And there's so many different roles involved, and you're switching from photography to something else, which, boo. But it's, at times it feels really competitive, you know? And it's like, no one will have a conversation with me. No one will tell me all the secrets. No one will, you know, and like part of it is like, you got to earn your stripes, and you just like got to get out there, and you got to start at the bottom, and you got to go work for other people. You know, work for people like Moji. You know, volunteer. Maybe that's you're starting as a PA. You know, you don't get to hold the camera for a bit. You know, and then you, as you develop relationships, this whole thing is about relationships. It's the most important thing is your Rolodex. It's who do you know? Because when you have, you know, we all have decisions about who we want to work with in our lives, whether you're hiring, you know, who's the grip, or who's the gaffer, or who's the producer, or who's the photographer. And you want to work with good people, you want to work with talented people who are pushing you, but you also want to work with people who are fun to hang out with, you know? And so building your community of creatives is so important. And coming to events like this is, you're doing it right now. You know, I bet if you walked around here, you could get numbers from 3 or 4 or 5 people who would sit down and have lunch with you and have a conversation about like the specifics of what you want. You know, like, what should my invoices look like? How much should I charge? How, you know, like all those questions that like are really important along the way. You know, so look around the room, introduce yourself to people, and you know, you don't want it to feel like the hard thing is like, are we friends, or like, am I trying to get something from you? You know, it's like this tit for tat thing. And like, at the end of the day, it's like, you'll get to a point in your career where it's not a competition anymore. And it's like, there's plenty to eat around here. There's lots of work in Portland, and we all just like want to help other people succeed. And I know that like where I'm sitting, where he's sitting, you know, it's like, if anyone comes looking for help or guidance or assistance, you know, it's like, we're all happy to have a conversation, you know? So lean into that, get some numbers, and like sit down and have lunch with people, you know? But then you got to get it out there and work too, you know? And you got to put in the reps, you know? And then 10 years from now, you'll be sitting where we are having the same conversation with somebody else 10 years younger, and you got to pay it forward. So, yeah. Hope that helps.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Matthew. Most people call me Thayu. It's just my name in my mama's language, but one of the things that stuck out to me about the set overall was how calm it was. It was peaceful. You know, we came into the room. I mean, I came into the room and I had, 1, gone to the wrong location, and then 2, had to walk 10 minutes around trying to find it. And then I got in, so I was hot and I was sweaty, but I get to my seat and it's cool. I see Moji doing his thing. I see the team doing their thing. Everybody's in their roles. And one of the things that specifically stuck out to me, you had this moment, you're talking, what was your name again, bro? Elijah. You're talking to Elijah after your first couple cuts, and you're like, hey, breathe, slow down. Okay, cool. Hey, that was great. Do your thing. Hey, have some fun. And to me, in some of the things that I do creatively right now, and some of the things that I aspire to do going forward, I think that's so valuable. Like, one, what was it? Was it this brother right here, Zach? Or no? What's your name? Zach. It is Zach. You had just mentioned like the idea of like, if your relationships are transactional, to me, your relationship in that moment was you could see how you've built some sort of personal relationship with him. And you had just mentioned you really met dude over the internet, you know? So to me, when you're in spaces and being who you are, and like, it's okay to have business in mind, but I think what allows things like this to be really successful is when people are really personable, like actually making eye contact, actually smiling, actually laughing, actually being engaging. And I feel like y'all killed that. So genuinely, it was an honor to just witness that and be a part. Like, I love being in rooms like that. Just as a fan, I mean, you know what it is, Moji, I got a lot of love for you, but it just, yeah, I think that's really valuable, just being personal and being calm, you know, and being present, so.
Yeah, I think that calmness comes from a lot of stress. I think dealing dealing with these celebrities. They have so many. They're very particular, to say the least, and they want things how they want it. They want it on time, and they want it now. You being reactive on set to that is just not good, you know. And I think slowing down, I think calming yourself as a leader, as a cinematographer, as a leader of your team of lighting, is like you have to be the calmest in the room.
There's a huge aspect to the interpersonality nature that Zach brought up and you mentioned as well, right? Where like, and this kind of relates back to your question where, you know, of course we want to think about business and how do we put ourselves in the best financial situation, but I always like to go back to the saying of like, you know, happiness is around the corner, wealth is down the street, right? So when you're actively doing things that you love to do and you're applying yourselves in the ways that you see fit for yourself, you automatically start to move in that direction in that way. And we always joke about like the biggest thing, it's called the 4-hour airport test, right? Where it's like, you can have a guy that has like 80% of the skills, right? But if I can't sit at an airport with him for 4 hours, I don't care how good you are at your job. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's a good, you know, just mental exercise, right? Where if you have two individuals, let's say one has 80% the skills as person B, right? But person B relates to the project at a higher extent. They're easier to work with. The question is, one, who's getting hired back? And two, which product of creative is gonna look better, right? It's most likely gonna be the individual who has less skills, that's more in line and ingrained to the situation, right? And it takes time, like Zach stated, like you have to, there's no substitute for experience and just repetition over and over and over again. A lot of what we're doing is it's all emulating, right? So when you see it in different ways, different environments, different people, you're able to recreate that, right? And once you have those skills from just setting up the stand 300 times and pinching your fingers, stubbing your toe, like that's why Moji, that's why it comes off so calm and natural, right? Because it's been done 300 times. You don't have to think about it. It's second nature. And people see that, right? People see you wanting to apply yourselves, being interested, and then it gets to a point where you're just confident enough with, you know, how you operate, and you know what you know. And you know, with that being said, though, like, you know, I want to bring up something Moji emphasized earlier about always surrounding yourself with the best people. Like if you're the smartest or richest or most experienced or whatever, you're in the wrong room, all right? Like you need to find a room where you're not, right? Because it's really easy to get complacent and be really good in where you're at. And like that's okay for some people, like, and that's all right. But like if you really want it, you'll get it. It's only a matter of time, right? And so I think that's just important to remember. So.
I had a question, I guess, again, about the calmness. It was just a very striking thing. My experience thus far has just been me and the talent, so I've never seen an actual, like, multiple people and things like that, so I don't really have a lot of frame of reference, so it was nice to be able to see that. But I was wondering, I was just curious how typical that is. Like, you know, obviously we're in this controlled environment. Obviously that was just like a little more soul of a small scene. So I wonder if you could just speak to how common that is. And then also, I'm curious if it varies depending on like, you know, commercial for Nike versus a music video versus your buddy's like indie project. Does the vibe shift or does it just depend on the person? I'm just curious if you could speak more to that.
I think it definitely shifts from production to production. But like I said, you know, if you're leading the ship, you have to be centered, no matter if the talent is a diva and they're freaking out and everything's late and everything's missing. It's like you have to be calm and you have to be centered no matter what it is. And I think music videos coming up in music videos was like boot camp. It was like the worst case scenario every music video shoot. And that really kind of raised my stress ceiling where I'm like, oh, I come on a commercial set and everything's like on time and everyone's doing their job and I don't have to do everything by myself. It was like, you really just got to put yourself out there to like just be uncomfortable, you know, and learn how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and then do it again. And I would love for Moses right next to you to speak on that. He's a producer, so I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
Hey everyone, my name is Moses Masilu. I'm a producer for Blue Ox. Work a lot with Moji. It's my It's my dog. Yeah, no, it definitely differs for sure. Project to project, client to client, celebrity to celebrity, talent to talent. As Deontay and Moji were talking about it too, it really is reps. Reps. It becomes second nature to you, muscle memory. So even when something falters, something goes down, it's still in your head, like it's second nature. I always compare it to dancing, like, you know what I mean, with choreography. You mess one step, okay, cool. But your body naturally goes into that, you know, the same routine that it's been doing if you practice and you keep practicing. So yeah, I mean, it is stressful. It really is. But one thing I've also learned as being a producer and being like top of the department, when Moji's, you know, DP, so he's top of his camera department. I'm trying to make sure everything is going on and whatnot. If your team sees you wavering as well, also keep that in mind. If your team sees you wavering, that's going to make them waver, you know? If they see you being frantic, that's going to make them frantic, you know? So as a leader, it's okay. Don't show your emotion too much. I mean, like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, don't show emotion, but it's one of those things, like, stay calm. And again, with reps and repetition, it really becomes second nature to you. So, like, at the end of the day, the job is going to get done, right? It's going to get done. Having a great team behind you and making sure, like, comfortability, Sav, you know, Tana over here, like, just having that crew, like, you know, over and over and over again, knowing their strengths and whatnot, you know, how they're going to come in and help you as well. That also helps. So, yeah, I mean, like, I remember when I first got here into Blue Ox like 2 years ago, and our first couple of productions, I was stressed. Like, you could see it on my face, you know what I mean? So it's funny now that people like usually tell me that, like, oh no, like, he's calm and collected. I'm like, really? Like, I was kind of tripping out a little bit, like, you know what I mean? So, but again, yeah, it's repetition, it's reps. It's being that leader, making sure that, like, you know, you are that person that people can come to even in their most darkest moments at, you know, during the times of production.
I am a cinematographer and a camera operator also, but I come from a narrative background of short films and things of the sort. And for me, I find that peace happens a lot on set once I feel that I have prepared enough with the director before getting on set. I think that preparation goes beyond, you know, making a shot list or making a storyboard. I think preparation is the relationship that you have with your director, the relationship that you garner, like, you spend the time to really put so much love into it. I think when it comes to this, like, to this world that we're in, I feel like sometimes it can be very unemotional and very, like, standoffish, off guard, like, I don't really need to be close to you. But I would agree, I would disagree, that you do need to kind of get close to who you're working with. You do need to care about their lives. You do need to care about what they experienced that day, because that's how you gel. That's how you come together. And in the short film world, there's a lot of pre-production that happens. So, you know, you're having so many nights with the same director every single night, just going through, like, why are we doing this? What is the intention behind the shot? And I think to feel that peace and that calm and that presence on set, you have to trust the people that you're working with. And the only way that you get that trust is when you spend the time in the pre, so that you're ready when it's time to actually produce. And you feel like you have that trust in who you're working with, you know? And putting that intentionality in the art that you're putting out there. So I think a mix of all of this can really bring a lot of peace and calm onto set, to where you don't have to stress out because you already know that you're going to get the shot. You already know that you're going to produce well. And you can really stand there and be like, you know, we do this. Like, we do it regularly. And I think that there's a lot of power in understanding, like, the value that you bring to set and understanding the ability that you have. Like, there's a reason why you're in that room in the first place. There's a reason why you got that far. It's because of the experience that you have. It's because of the gift that you have, the eye that you have, the intention that you have. There are things that you have that someone else doesn't have, and that makes you stand out in those spaces. So really leaning in and trusting in the fact that you are different in those ways can really also bring that peace on set, because it's like, you don't have to worry because you know that you can do it at the end of the day, you know? So
I really appreciate about the creative field that, yes, it's technical and yes, it's repetition, but after you get to a certain point, it's also a feeling. And once you are comfortable in what you're putting out, once you're comfortable in the team that you're working with, comfortable with yourself, you know automatically when you enter a space, you enter a room, you come to work, that it's going to be what you expect it to be, and then that calmness comes naturally, that natural communication, open flow communication with the team comes naturally. And I think I was very, I don't want to say impressed, but I enjoyed when Moji asked Elijah to, I agree with you, asked him to, have fun with it, because number one, as an actor, you went from, every take was so different. And I think I'm not in the creative space like every day. So for me to see, okay, take one, it was, let's see how this can go. Take two, it was a little different, minor tweaks, but it's really major in the big scope of things. And then that last take where it was, I don't want to say a complete 180, but you really took it to where you wanted to take it. I think that it was beautiful to watch and fun to watch. So
Great perspective. I think I'm a huge believer in intuition and instinct. I think technicalities are so great. There's like people around me that are like much more technical than me. I didn't go to film school. I grew up on YouTube University, learning from everyone putting out courses and saying, well, this is how I do it. And I'm like, I'm gonna do it that way as well. And I sharpen my technicality as much as I can. I have mentors that were really technical. And the better I got, the more I realized my gift was my intuition. And you become technical so you can forget it. They say you learn to forget it. What are you forgetting? You're forgetting the technicalities to go back to what you were born with. That's your instinct. As an artist, I feel like that is your greatest asset. How do you feel about what you're creating? Lean on that. Have incredible, the strongest faith in how you feel about something, because everything in this world was invented by someone who said, I want this here. I want this in front of me, so I'm going to create it. They weren't worried about technicalities. Of course, you need numbers and physics and how to, but I love instinct. And I feel like I relate and resonate with others that lean more into that instinct. And that's why I told you to have fun, You're technically sharp, and I can see that, but you're also very intuitive. And I would bet my bottom dollar on your intuition than your technicalities any day. That's how you get the best results. And I think that's how we all get the best results, And I think that's what we're speaking about with relationships, is technicalities is business. It's numbers. It's a metric to it. But how do you articulate something? You just well, I feel like doing this. How do you measure that? You don't. There's no number to that, and I think you should lean into that, and you should feel a way and express yourself as an artist and lean heavy into that and have incredible faith in your intuition.
Devaney, right?
Devaney,
yes.
Yeah.
Please
Hi,
give
I'm
us your
Devaney.
question.
I very much on that note, I thought it was so cool. It was so interesting to see how different each of the takes were. All three of them were there was such a drastic change. And I wanted to kind of ask about the relationship, but if there was a learning curve as the director, as directors in this room, if there was a learning curve because even though you aren't technically trained, I was watching you, it's such a technical job, and you're in this very almost, to oversimplify, left brain headspace, and the shorthand, the way you guys are moving with each other was so it was very technical, and it was really cool to see. But then I was watching Elijah, yes? I was watching you the entire time, and you you had to keep yourself in this like headspace the entire time. All of that was going around you. And that's such an intense process, and it's such an emotional process, especially depending on how intense the scene is. So my question is was there a learning curve as you got experience with directing, with almost code switching, like tapping in and out of that space to, especially if it was like a more intense scene, like say there were tears, if you wanted to bring them to a certain result, and they're in this, like when I was in school, sometimes it felt like my teacher was like dealing with us like we're toddlers, you know, like trying to get us to stop, you know, certain tantrums or get us to a certain result. And if that was something you had to learn, or if that was difficult for you, or really any director in this space, but if kind of talking to them and trying to kind of get them into and coax them into certain results, if that was difficult, is my question.
Yeah, short answer, yes, it's difficult.
Yeah.
But I think filmmaking is such a humanistic art form. And I knew coming into the filmmaking space, I wasn't as technical, obviously. You're just beginning. And I soon realized once I got the reps that, oh, it's a human business. Like,
Very, yeah.
I'm good with people. I'm introverted, but I'm very good with people.
Yeah.
I love people. So how can that translate into my filmmaking? It often comes off very technical.
Right.
But again, I think going back to the basics, you learn to forget. You learn how to be technical, and then you forget the technicalities and say, I'm a human.
Yeah.
I'm talking to another human being. I feel those same emotions.
Yeah.
To speak on technicalities, I think people who, I didn't go to film school, Oni did.
Yeah.
And when I first met Oni could run circles around me with technicalities. I really appreciated that. I took that in. I was like, Oni, like, why you did that? Like, okay, like, I can pull from that.
Yeah.
I pulled from that, and then I added my natural instinct. That's how you come up with new ideologies and new ideas and concepts. You feel your way through, you're pulling from each person in the room and adding yourself to it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, film school is an interesting concept and topic, but I think, you know, a lot of people that come out of film school, they're reading out of a book.
Yeah.
Right? And what happens with books? They can't be updated as often. So by the time they come out of film school, they've learned technicalities that people on set are not doing anymore. It's outdated. The only way you can learn technicalities is getting the reps right now. Like, go on set and listen to how they speak. That is the best learning experience.
Yeah.
Not film school. And I think I think but it all has its benefits. Everyone has their journey.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because I feel like there is a general consensus that all of our like categories in the industry are so different. Like all of our roles are so different. But the way that you're talking about it right now is like year 2 of acting school, you're learning how to walk with a limp and you're learning how to do accents, and it's so technical, but you have to do the reps so you're not thinking about it at all. And I feel like when it's put in that scope, it's kind of like I would imagine all of our roles are like that. And so it's just interesting to hear that because we're kind of made to feel like they're all so different and like, but our roles are kind of all the same in a way, in that way.
Yeah, we're all connected. I think we're all connected. Like, yeah, it's a circle. You know, you feed your teammate, it goes to your next teammate, and it comes right back to you.
Yeah.
So I don't think if we're all expressing ourselves, I don't think it's outside of our circle. You know.
No, completely.
And I think that's the best way to gain relationship. The feeling that I'm feeling right now is like we're all looking for a real human connection. And it's really tainted by business. You know, does it make sense? Does the numbers make sense? Is there parking? Is there, I know we all have parking problems today. No parking. But I think I really encourage everyone to just like push past that.
Yeah.
Push past the numbers. Like maybe you might be on your last dollar to like get to a production or something. I promise you, every time I push past that, I had a reward waiting for me. I had the greatest lesson waiting for me on the other side of that. And that's the uncomfortable thing about it. I think to end this off, I want to say, lean into it. Be bold. Life is about being bold, and I think the fortune favors the bold. So, love what you do what you love, all that cliche shit, but lean into it, for sure. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much. Just real quick before we go, I just want to just remind everybody that no one's going to be your biggest advocate but yourself, you know? And so like a lot of times the hardest step is just starting, but getting past that and just keeping at it, like it's not an if, but when. So don't ever forget that.
Amazing.
Duppy House, y'all. All right, cut cameras.